this plausible future about tools that you can use and gives you the opportunity to create products, and how that's going to transform the way we buy and shop and think about products. And when you talk about this design approach, and that connects with other part of my story, but
yeah.
Okay, we're rolling.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, to your point, I mean, we're sort of at that place now where you could imagine getting, a recipe, a plan to make a pair of like high-end Ray-Bans. And if you had the right printer in your home, you could make your own Ray-Bans and screw the little screws in. I mean, it's not that hard, right? If you have the right materials, you have the right printer, and you have the design, right? You have the plan. I mean, you can fabricate that stuff now.
So we can think that consumers will be producers.
Absolutely. I mean, that's sort of the shift. I didn't talk about that quite enough, but that was part of the most profound insight that I had was we have turned the corner. Like I talked about people revolving. It's like, so we have actually turned back into producers. So we were, I would say in the 70s, 80s, part of the 90s, sort of like consumers of media, consumers of things. And now lots and lots of people have come back around to being the producers, whether it's through like Etsy or like any, like there's like Quirky, there's like all kinds of really cool companies that are helping people sell what they make, right? And actually make money or make a livelihood from doing that.
It's like the greatest transition of consumption, because you just talk about maybe 10 years ago until now, consumers are the media. That's the huge transformation that social media gives to the consumption world.
Yeah, everybody produces in social media. I mean, lots of people consume, right? Like you consume many, many, many things, but people contribute back all the time. And that makes conversations richer or worse. It doesn't matter, you're actually contributing, right?
But this new step, it's the moment when consumer can create their own products. And why design take how and why the design concept or the design issue takes this relevance into society right now?
Well, design is often, sort of the tip of the spear, right? Like designers are dreamers and big thinkers, and they like to be out doing things, like very quickly. And so now, because as designers, we never had, like I was showing in the talk, we never had access to that type of machinery, to the manufacturing, to the process. And now it's like, it's in our studios, it's in our homes. But when you have direct access to the tools and the materials, you're going to find a way to make things, right? Because that's fun, and that's what you need to do to move forward. And so like the designers they're like natural, totally natural fit for wanting to do that. Engineers too, certainly. They love to build things.
So we can talk that this will be the democratization of design.
I would say it already is heading that way. You could say it's sort of like the democratization of manufacturing, right? That's what's been happening with 3D printers and some of the other materials. And I just think that this whole crafting and maker movement is as you said, contributing to a complete shift in how people want to spend their time, right? Like they like making things, it turns out. And now they have the opportunity. It's been easier than ever.
Do you know SodaStream? SodaStream, the machine that you use
to
create
to
create your own soft drinks.
And I saw one of those. It was like kind of scary. I had to figure it out.
Okay, but that can be a game changer in that context. I know it's not 3D printing, but the concept can travel to get that kind of products. The fact that you don't have to go and buy something,
right.
And you can go to home and create your own product, change economic dynamics at the end.
Yeah. So products like that, where you can combine and try new things like that. That's really the future of that fabrication part. Because right now, many of the tools and machines we have are sort of single purpose, and they're for taking a design and producing a particular output. When you can actually experiment sort of in the process of making that gets really exciting. Like in your example of being able to mix all different types of liquids together. Like in the old days, kids would combine soda, it'd be like totally disgusting. They'd throw it out, try again. We're sort of getting back to that, but on a fabrication production scale.
Because we have the tools and the chance.
And they're fast and relatively cheap.
How plausible is the massification of 3D printing in homes, in
Yeah.
in our daily basis?
Yeah, if you look at how laser printers evolved, right? Like laser printers were 10,000, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 500, right? So I think 3D printer is going to follow the same exact trajectory. You can actually buy kits, 3D printer kits that are like $100. It's not that hard to get one right now, cheap.
So you can consider that 3D printing will be the most potentially disruptive technology that coming to our lives, or
no, I don't think it's going to be the most disruptive, but I think it's going to give the next generation a way to make their own toys, to make their own things that they care about. They're like action figures, they're like little figurines, things that are meaningful to them. And so just in the way that we had laser printers to do desktop publishing, like to get our thoughts out, to make brochures, to do things we could never do before. I think the 3D printers are going to give kids and people who are crafters the ability to make things that they care about in a way that they never could before, quickly and cheaply.
And if you think in the most disruptive technology of the future, of the near future?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about it. I think the materials space is going to be extremely disruptive to many things, because material science and what they're able to do and dream up with materials now is really going to change the way things are constructed, things are envisioned, and the way that we interact with them. Like our environments will become very dynamic because of the new materials that will be available to architects and people making whatever, tables and chairs and lights. I mean, it's all going to be different. Like 10 years, mark my words, the type of materials that you come in contact with will be very different than what you're coming into contact with now. I mean, think about lighting, right? Like with all the smart lights, like in homes when, you're watching a new episode of your favorite sci-fi show and your special lighting bulbs, sort of attune themselves to what's happening in the scene. That's just like the tip of the iceberg for what is going to be possible with materials and environments changing.
What kind of migration of materials do you consider? More greener, more efficient, more cheaper? I don't know.
It's a good question. I think it's actually it's going to go in a lot of different directions. It's a very multi-dimensional issue. Like, yes, everybody would like things to be green, but the fact is they're combining things together that have not been combined in that way. So they may not be as green as they could be. Everybody has that thought in mind. They won't be as cheap as they maybe could be when they first come out. But their attributes, right, their performance characteristics, the way that you can combine them are going to be something that people will pay attention to and experiment with. And so that's like the really interesting part.
But at the end, the goal is to make smart, quicker, smarter homes for this overpopulated cities of the future.
Well, yeah, from that, so there's two parts to that. One is we can certainly do a better job of providing better, safer, cheaper homes and places for people to live in urban areas, or just people are more disadvantaged. We could definitely do a better job with some of these new materials and new production, fabrication. That's going to be something that we will get better at, certainly. But I'm not so sure that people want smart homes. I think it's portrayed that way, but when you get right down to it, we run into people and we talk with them about what would work and what wouldn't work. There are little things that would be great, but I don't think you want your house talking back to you, or you know what I mean? Like you having to interact with things in very unnatural ways. As designers, we look for the ways that feel right, that feel comfortable, and we sort of use technology and process to sort of get to that best feeling experience. But it's not for everybody. I mean, not everybody wants to talk to their skillet or talk to their toaster, right? That's just not for us to figure out as the goal is not to have a super smart kitchen. The goal is to help you do whatever it is that you like to do.
Don't have a connection with the main purpose of design today. I think that's just an opinion. Finally, you also talk about human ingenuity. and I consider it a powerful speech because we're on a hard time right now, and we're in the middle of a new recession and of a generational shift. So how? Let's talk about this ingenuity and the relation with this recession on this particular context.
Yeah, so human ingenuity, for me, is the thing that's most important about making, and hacking, like however you want to sort of talk about that. Because, central to this whole thing are people's aspirations, right? Their passions, the things that they really want to try to do or move forward, or like work with their friends and families and colleagues. So, ingenuity is sort of powering all of this other stuff. Whether you're in an economic recession, or you're in the best of times, or you're in a remote area, or you're in the middle of New York City, it doesn't really matter. People have the capacity to do the most amazing things if they want to, and if they're given the opportunity. Some people have to take the opportunity, right? And like, not everything is, we all have things to do, but when people want to actually put themselves out there, when they want to try to use their passion and ingenuity, then stuff gets really fun, very fast.
Sounds
you see that, right? You see that in people who are being creative.
Sounds like the evolution of transparency, That sounds like that. It's because when you start to talk about ingenuity, I start to search the definition, and they talk about sincerity.
Don't tell me I got it wrong.
No, it's very nice. No, you have it, but it sounds like the future of transparency. It's like you have to be
genuine, authentic, right? Yeah, that comes through. I mean, you see that immediately when people are genuinely, trying to do good, or they're trying to help, or they're just trying to push something forward. You get that immediately from them, and it's infectious. It's fun to be around, and that's why I like this whole movement so much, because we get exposed to that all the time.